to play the game, to play a round, there's a round sequence on each of the character mats. Yellow character, black character, purple character. The round sequences are all the same. Everything on the mats are all the same except for the artwork and, of course, the colors. The colors correspond to which dice you're supposed to use. So, the first thing we do is we roll all of our dice except wounds. If we had wounds, they would be locked right over there in the wound. Doesn't matter what number they are, they're just locked there. Roll all the dice and put them in your ready pool. That's not a very good roll. You want higher rolls normally. Then, if any of these were 6s and I had a fever, I would move all those immediately to the spent pool. You can only recover from fevers if you have a 3 of a kind. You put those 3 dice there and you recover from your fever for the next round. But we don't have to worry about that on the first round. I already rolled my 8 dice. 8 is what you start out with at the beginning of the campaign. However, this dice number will get larger or smaller depending on how well you do throughout the campaign. The next thing is you're going to draw 4 cards. Each person's going to draw 4 cards. And then you're going to talk to each other about the cards, but not about the requirements at the bottom. So somebody might have something that they could use that if they complete it, then they could also complete a trail card. If they mention that, then I will go ahead and I will give them a trail card. I'll place it face down, and maybe I have another card. There's a 5. I don't really want to deal with it because I only have 1 5, and I'll give that to them. Purple will give me a card, and black will give me a card. They will give me a card, and then I'll lay them all face down here in front of me. This is my main goal, to accomplish these cards, to complete those cards. That's what we do throughout a round. Now, the rounds go by 1 at a time. Each one of us takes turns allocating a die to a card, and we can talk about this as well. So, Animal Trail, I guess that one's pretty easy. Let's go for this hard one first. Jade Panther Native Warning. I can do that. I can do that with a 3 and a 4. So I'll put a 3 there. We'll go around. Then I'll put a 4. That will complete the card. When I complete the card, I either get the benefit or I can put it here in the travel pile. At the end of the round, for every 2 cards in the travel pile, we get to add a travel token to the travel chart. But this says move a used die from this card to another native card as a wild die. That means that a wild die counts as anything. So if I use this 3, I can move it to another native card. So black has a native card, so I can go ahead and I can move that over there, and I can help black out with one of their cards. And then I go ahead and discard this. We look to see what sort of terrain it might affect. This one affects forest. So on this chart, I move this down 1 towards forest. If this were to get all the way to forest, then I take a forest sticker, and I can put a forest sticker on any unmapped adjacent zone. And then we just keep on going through there, taking turns, allocating dice. Any dice that I did not allocate, I put to the spent pool. Here's something I forgot. 4, 5s, and 6s. Anytime you allocate a 4, 5, or 6, you use a food or a morale. So since I did allocate a 4 earlier, I will use a food. Now, as a wild, it doesn't matter if the wild is a 4, 5, or 6. A wild does not use food or morale. So I put something on cunning. They're doing their things. And then I put another one on cunning. And this says lose a food and gain a movement, or lose a movement and gain a food. I think right now we're going to go ahead and we are going to lose a food to gain a movement. We can't let food or morale drop to 0. They're taking their turns. These go to the spent pool, and then I'm going to take my turn, which is towards the Animal Trail. They take their turns. Purple decided to put a die in her assist. So since she put a die in her assist, any dice that I have still in my active pool, any of those dice can go up 1. So if I have a die that I need to go up 1, I can do that. I am going to go ahead and make this 5 go up to a 6. Because if I were to move this 3 up to a 4 and use it, then I would lose a community resource up there. So I'm just going to do that. And then we'll continue going around. I'll complete that one for a movement. Let's say purple and black have completed a couple of movements. Black completed another movement, moves here. Black gets that XP cube to put on their personal resource area permanently. Or at least until they get 10 of them, which then they can use to fill out one of these rep boxes, which will advance their character. And then finally, I'm going to put this one on there. It doesn't matter if you do the left one or the right one first. It doesn't matter. I'm going to put the one on there because I know that purple had a wild that would allow purple to go ahead and move one of her dice over to any card anywhere. And she had a purple 4, which she's able to move over there and complete this card. Even though she completed the card, since it's in front of me, I get the benefits and I get to choose. It says cure your fever. I don't have a fever, so I don't really care about that. So I'm going to put that in the movement. However, it also says advance 1 towards jungle. So for my jungle area, or not jungle, yes, jungle. For jungle, I'm going to move that thing up 1 right there. The other players placed a few cards in the travel pile as well. This is the end of the round. Well, I have a couple of more here, so what I'll do is I'll go ahead and I'll throw these into assist. It helps them, but more than that, since I have 2 in assist, it gives me an experience cube, so I'll go ahead and do that. All my cards are used or locked, so I have to skip. When they're done, then we do the end of the round, which is also on this round sequence chart. Gain any wounds from incomplete cards. I don't have any cards that are incomplete, but if I did, then I would get a wound, which means one of these would move to one of these wound spots for next turn. Resolve card consequences. If you fail the card, besides getting a wound, you'd also have to take any sort of consequences that are in this red area. This little explosion is another wound, so that person would get 2 wounds. 2 wounds is the most that I can have on my character. Any wounds after that become a fever, where I would then put a fever token, and when I roll in the ready pool next turn, all 6s immediately go to the spent pool and stay there until I can cure it with a 3 of a kind. I don't have to worry about that. Resolve the travel pile. So there are 3 cards in the travel pile. It's divided by 2 round down, so that would add 1 more movement. I'll put those in the discard. Advance round marker from 1 to 2. Go back to the start of the round unless at round number 4. So at the start of the round, I would take all these back and I would go all over again, rolling the dice, putting them in my ready pool, and continuing. We have 4 rounds in order to fill this up all the way down here to this flag without losing any food, without losing all of our food, I mean, and without losing all of our morale. If we can do that together, then we have won the game. If you win the game, you circle the week and move on to the next week, and you also move on to an adjacent zone if you want to. We are trying to move from here all the way over here to zone 52. That's where we're heading towards. So that is 1572 Legacy. That's how to play the game. If you have any questions, please feel free to contact me.